We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. Native American saying.
Look at Chotu. He is having a whale of a time playing in that big heap of mud that has been dug up. Chotu, I know you are enjoying yourself, but be prepared for a bath and a proper scrubbing by Ma when we return home. She is not going to tolerate the house getting all muddy. But Dadaji, why have they dug up the ground here?
I am not sure what they are planning. I hope it is not for a concrete construction. Man is continually changing the environment. Nothing better than a natural environment.
What exactly is environment, Dadaji?
Environment is whatever surrounds us. Everything that is living as well as non-living. The living components are called biotic, while the non-living components are called abiotic. And there is a lot of interaction happening between the biotic components and also with the abiotic components.
Let me see what is surrounding me right now. Air, plants, sunlight, soil, maybe some bacteria in the air. The birds, squirrels, and the insects on the trees. And of course, Chotu and you, Dadaji.
Good, but you forgot to mention all the living creatures inside the soil under our feet. What is not seen is often overlooked. There are insects, worms, millipedes, centipedes, maybe land crabs, fungi, so many creatures living underground, an entire ecosystem.
Can you tell me what is an ecosystem, Dadaji?
An ecosystem is where various organisms that depend on each other live together in harmony and are best suited to the physical conditions of that place. You will find several food chains in an ecosystem.
Wow! Can you please tell me the story of food chains, Dadaji?
Now just look at this shrub of curry leaves. They are the kitchen of the plant and make food. Some of the leaves are being eaten by caterpillars and insects. But who eats the caterpillars and insects?
Some small birds.
And who would be eating those small birds?
Snakes and larger birds like the crested serpent eagle could eat the snakes. So that is what makes up a food chain. When food and energy pass from a simple living being like the curry leaves to more complex and bigger living beings like frogs and eagles. But Dadaji, the insects could be eaten by frogs too. And yesterday morning, I saw a kingfisher eating a frog.
I am glad you brought this up, dear Kunti. This becomes a food web when many food chains are interconnected with each other and prey may be eaten by several different types of predators.
Did you hear that, Chotu? You too are part of a food web. You eat chicken as well as mutton, as well as bones of goats and sheep.
Now, Kunti, let me see if you can point out the biotic and abiotic components of the environment around us within a radius of 5 meters all around.
Okay. The biotic components are trees, shrubs, grasses, insects, earthworms, millipedes, centipedes, fungi, snails, spiders, lizards, squirrels, bacteria, so many birds on the trees and up in the air. The abiotic components are air, soil, rocks, water in that well. But of course, the water and soil could be counted as biotic too, as there are living beings in them.
Shabash! Full marks! Now, some of the living organisms you have mentioned are autotrophs, some are heterotrophs, and some are detrivores and saprotrophs. I can see the puzzled look on your face. Let me explain so that it does not sound like Greek and Latin anymore.
Dadaji explains. Autotrophs are those that produce their own food out of simple substances like carbon dioxide and water using the sun's energy.
Ah, so the grasses, shrubs and trees are autotrophs. And who are the heterotrophs?
The heterotrophs are those that do not make their own food. They depend on ready-made organic food.
That means the insects, snails, spiders, squirrels and birds are the heterotrophs. And what about saprotrophs? Where do they get their food from?
Saprotrophs are organisms that consume decaying organic matter by secreting enzymes on them and help recycle the elements back into the soil. Detrivores too live on dead organic matter, but they digest the matter inside their bodies.
That means millipedes, earthworms and centipedes are detrivores, while bacteria and fungi are saprotrophs.
Bilkul sahi. Now Kunti, we shall have another round of a quiz. Imagine that one day there is a storm and this jamun tree topples over. What changes do you expect around the dead tree?
The birds, squirrels and lizards will stop visiting it. Instead, the detrivores like earthworms will carry the dead leaves into their burrows and munch on them. Termite galleries may appear all over the wood of the tree as they too eat dead organic matter. And of course, mushrooms, which are a form of fungi, will also be seen growing on the tree. Ultimately, the tree will disappear as the elements will be recycled into the soil.
Wah, full marks! You are already an environmentalist, as you know so much.
But Dadaji, an environment can appear to change from time to time. When it rains, there are puddles of water everywhere, even some waterfalls on the hillsides. The rains give rise to a lot of greenery and so many wildflowers spring out of the ground. And of course, to eat these plants, a large number of insects suddenly appear too. But in winter, the insects go into hibernation, while some birds migrate here from other countries.
My dear Kunti, I am so delighted to see how observant you are and how well you understand things. You are absolutely right. The components of an environment change depending on the weather, season, and climate.
Can you tell me the stories of weather, season, and climate, please?
Weather is the day-to-day changes in the air around us, like temperature, strength of wind, cloudiness. Sometimes it may suddenly rain. At other times, it may be sunny or foggy or cloudy. And some places may suddenly see snow too.
And this is what Dadaji told Kunti. Weather normally affects a smaller area. There are usually 5 main types of weather, such as sunny, rainy, snowy, cloudy, partly cloudy, and windy.
Like today it is sunny and windy. I have to hold on to my chotis. But yesterday it was cloudy.
Bilkul sahi.
But Dadaji, I have noticed so many weather changes in a single day. From morning to afternoon, to evening to night.
You are right, Kunti. Early morning, just after the sun has risen, when it is still cool, we humans may want to sleep some more. But the birds wake up and welcome the new day with their loud chorus.
The scene changes as the sun rises higher in the sky.
Yes, butterflies become more active and other birds like the sunbirds are seen, sipping nectar from flowers.
And towards evening, the leaves of the rain tree all droop and close as if they have begun to sleep. And sparrows and parakeets all get together and make a big ruckus as if they are singing lullabies to themselves.
But the story is not over yet. What about the night? Have you observed how our fellow beings react after sunset when the night sets in?
The nocturnal creatures awaken. The crickets begin to chirp, The bats awaken and take flight, hunting for food, and the owls may screech and hoot or fly silently to target their prey, the mice.
So, you are right, Kunti. All living organisms react differently to the changes of weather. The same is the case for change in seasons.
Can you tell me the stories about seasons, Dadaji?
Seasons are established variations in the environment which repeat in the same pattern year after year.
And Dadaji tells Kunti about the short spell of spring in March, summer in April to May, monsoons from June to September, a short spell of autumn in October to November, and winter from December to February.
What happens in the different seasons?
In summer, our tropical trees are in full bloom and it is nesting time for many birds.
Yes, I remember last summer a sunbird had made a shabby looking nest right outside our window. And a crow was raising a family of 4 chicks, but one of them was a quail whose egg had been laid in the crow's nest by the quail mother.
Shabash! But owing to the harsh heat of summer, many of the rivers, lakes, and other water bodies dry up. In Rajasthan, the heat can be unbearable. The temperature can go up to 50 degrees centigrade. Farmers everywhere wait anxiously for the rains to sow their seeds.
And then come the southwest monsoons with much drama, lightning, and thunder.
Yes, the whole scene changes. The lakes and rivers start filling up. Since India is an agricultural country, we depend so much on the monsoons. Our electricity too is produced to a large extent by hydroelectric power plants. The rains fill up the dams that work the power plants.
What about the flora and fauna, Dadaji? How do they react to the monsoon season?
There is a lot of activity among the biotic components. The pied-crested cuckoo bird comes all the way from Africa to the west coast of India, making use of the southwest monsoon winds. In fact, people consider it to be the harbinger of the monsoons, as very soon after it is seen on our shores, the monsoon begins. It is at this time that the bird lays its eggs.
We must go to visit Vijaya Chachi in Mumbai next monsoon, so that we get to see this bird when it lands on Mumbai's shores.
Also, in the monsoons, a lot of wild flora suddenly springs up. Flowers like the edible chlorophytum lily, the kali musuli, balsams, hill turmeric, even wild grapes, wild sesame, wild ginger, and many others are to be seen in the forested areas. These plants have a very short life, and that is why they are referred to as the ephemeral monsoon flush.
The rainy season makes the earth come to life?
Now let's go on to the story of post-monsoons or autumn, which is short-lived in most parts of our country. Since the days now start becoming shorter and there is less of sunlight as well as water, many trees, you must have noticed, start shedding their leaves. These are the deciduous trees.
Yes, I have noticed. The Deshi Badam, the Karaya gum tree, the peepal and red silk cotton tree doing so. By the time it is winter, they are completely bare.
Then comes winter. It can get extremely cold, especially on the higher altitudes like the Himalaya mountains in Uttarakhand and places inland, while places along the east and west coast have moderate temperatures because of the influence of the sea.
What about the animals, Dadaji? How are they affected?
Many birds like the Amur falcons, greater flamingos, and Siberian cranes migrate from Russia and Siberia to India to escape the bitter cold there.
Dadaji goes on to inform that insects go into hibernation since the trees do not have enough food to offer them, as many of them are bare. So also do other animals like bears and foxes. Some furry animals grow a thicker coat, while birds fluff out their feathers to trap air and to keep out the cold.
Even Chotu grows a nice thick coat in winter. He keeps me warm by cuddling up to me at night. And after winter, of course, we have the spring, where the bare trees grow new tender leaves and the cycle of the season starts all over again.
Very true.
What about climate, Dadaji?
Coming to that, climate is the long-term pattern of weather in a particular area.
So which are the different climates?
Tropical, desert, temperate, and polar. And of course, people adjust their way of lives according to each of these climatic regions.
Aha! I have read about Greenland. They have so much ice all the year round that people live in igloos made of ice blocks. The ice blocks act as insulating wall and keep them warm inside. And Dadaji, besides people adjusting to different ways of life, even the flora and fauna in each of these climatic regions must be varying, I am sure.
Now Kunti, let us play a game. I will give you clues about the flora and fauna and you have to guess the climate type and tell me which part of India would you expect to find such a climate.
Yay! I love such games. Chotu, are you two ready?
The first is where plant life grows at different levels to avoid competition for sunlight. Here you find flying squirrels, flying lizards and langurs with long limbs to leap from tree to tree.
I know. It's a tropical climatic region which has abundant rainfall in the western Ghats, southern Assam and Andaman Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep.
Bilkul sahi. Next, this place hardly gets any rainfall at all. The plants here have leaves reduced to spines or leaves with a waxy surface to prevent any loss of water, as in the kheri trees. The animals here, like the fox and some reptiles, live in burrows and can manage without water for a long period.
This is too easy. It's the desert, of course, in Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat.
Brilliant! The third is where there are forests of coniferous trees with needle-like leaves which are adapted to a colder climate. Colorful birds like the monal pheasant and western tragopan live here, and mammals like the pine marten are often seen hiding among the trees.
Is it the temperature region in the lower Himalayas?
Absolutely correct. And my last question, which is the region outside India which is extremely cold and may be snowbound throughout the year? The birds here migrate to warmer regions during the bitterly cold winters and the animals hibernate to tide over the winter season, relying on their reserve fats. This is where you find the polar bears, seals and snowy owls.
Yes! It is the polar climatic region, of course, in the Antarctic, Greenland and northernmost part of Canada.
All correct. My dear Kunti, now that we have discussed all the stories related to our environment, wouldn't you like to make some posters to spread awareness about our environment?
Wow! I am going to start right away, Dadaji. Chotu, what do you have to say?
And so Kunti makes some posters and with Dadaji's help puts them up all over town. Please use our natural resources in a sustainable manner to protect and maintain an ecological balance. Please do not burn dead leaves, garden trimmings and garbage. It pollutes the air. Instead, Turn it into manure. Please segregate wet and dry garbage. You can vermicompost all your wet garbage and make manure to nourish the soil around you. The dry garbage can be recycled. Let's spare a thought for all creatures. Let's live in harmony with nature. Don't overuse what the earth offers. बचाओ अपना वातावरण. Burning of fuel simply pollutes. Solar energy is a good substitute. Water bodies, please don't abuse. बचाओ अपना वातावरण. बचाओ अपना वातावरण.